This place has really been designed around us. It's about having a space that works for you.
Before we even designed this apartment, we had to think about what do we actually need. Everything has a place, down to where the teapot might have its place. So this is a compact apartment, 25 square meters.
This is our living room, our dining room, our hosting space. It's all in one, and so we've had
That's where we sleep as well.
Yeah, correct, over there.
Sydney's property market has really caused us to think creatively in terms of where we live and how we live.
We have tried to fit out this place so that the storage suits the things that we have, not more, not less.
And that's just being mindful and really questioning, do we really need this and how does it really add value to our life?
Part of using this space well has been incorporating a lot of storage. We've got lots of little nooks and crannies where we can tuck things away. This table can be packed away above the oven. We can reconfigure the space depending on what we're doing and depending on our needs. This screen door here can open out so that you can watch TV while sitting on the couch, or it can close and watch TV from bed. After we wash the dishes, we put them away above the sink. That's a good use of space. We don't have any door handles in the apartment, and it sounds like such a simple thing, but it just means you can move around a lot more freely. To be honest, one of the biggest benefits of living here is how easy this place is to clean. I'd say it takes half an hour to clean the whole place. I mean, it sounds silly, but we really appreciate that because we don't want to spend all our time and energy thinking about maintaining, and having a small, decluttered, very simple place means we can spend time and energy doing other things. Living in a tiny apartment does mean that we don't have our own backyard.
We have an abundance of parks around the area. That's been a big part of why we chose this place. One of the sustainable aspects about living in a compact apartment is that you have a smaller footprint. We're only taking up 12, 13 square meters each, I guess. We need to be conscious about how we live and the way we live in a space, and definitely push for sustainability when we can. As cities grow and land becomes more scarce, compact living is one of the ways you can live in an efficient way. It's not feasible to continuously build new structures. We should rethink the whole process, be considering how we can adapt existing buildings to suit our needs.
Welcome, I'm Bernice Ross, the CEO and President of BrokerAgeUpandRealEstateCoach.com, and I'm very happy to welcome two of my favorite guests in the entire world, Matt Johnson and Greg McDaniel. They are the co-founders and the hosts of Real Estate Uncensored, and you can reach them at reuncensored.com. They have a fantastic podcast, and I always have more fun with them than just about anybody I've ever recorded with. So thank you for being with me, gentlemen.
Oh man, our pleasure. Are you kidding me?
Okay, well, we got a really great session called Go Relational. So, what does that mean? Who wants to lead off here?
I'll let Johnson Face lead this.
Well, thank you, Johnson. All right. So here's one of the things when you asked us to kind of share some of the things that we learned from doing the podcast for 2018, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we noticed is that we get a chance to talk to a lot of different agents, team leaders, vendors, people that have tried and experimented with all kinds of things. And what you find out after doing that is you get the initial rush of excitement over a new tactic, and then you realize that right behind that is somebody else doing something completely different that also works for them. And there's nothing but a never-ending string of that. Every single new tactic for sales and marketing, somebody's going to make it work for them, and they're going to have an awesome story to share. So when you realize that everything works for somebody, well, then you have to go, okay, well, I don't need to do everything, right? Because I can't do everything. There's always going to be endless success stories from people that are making something work for them. And so then you have to start going, okay, well, if everything works for somebody, what do I want to make work for me? And so that's kind of one of the main things that I took out of this year. We've talked to people doing everything from referrals to chatbots and Instagram and making it work for them. So Greg, that was one of the things that really stood out to me, and it stood out to you too.
Yeah, it really is. I've grown up doing real estate for the last 19 years in a transactional based environment. And the reason why it was transactional, and this has morphed significantly, we were talking about this before the show, is that when I got into business in 2000, there was no social media, there was no social networking, there was networking and prospecting. And so door knocking and outbound calling, that was a social network. That was reaching out to your social sphere and interacting with them in a way that you couldn't, that you could do at that point. Now, as I went through the last 19 years, I've understood and grown to understand that now that has now transformed into hardcore outbound prospecting and no longer networking. And so I think that with the shifting in society and the shifting in technology and the shifting in a lot of people, because I believe the stat is that every day we see more commercials and branding and advertisements than our grandparents saw in a year. And if you just look around anywhere you are, you'll see brands and logos everywhere you are. Your grandparents didn't see that quantity of brands, so it was easier to get to folks. Now you can't do a traditional way of outbound prospecting. You have to do something unique. You have to stand out from the crowd. Something that I've talked about in the past is that I want to climb out of the noise of life. How can you climb out of the noise of life? And you can do it by relationships. You can do it about caring. There is an outdoor company. I think what's a big box outdoors, like hunting, fishing, coal.
Cabela's is one of them. Okay.
Cabela's. If you ever call Cabela's, you will always get a live person that will handle your need or want without having to go through a machine. You go through any other person or any other company, you'll get a machine. Now, why does Cabela's explode? Is because they take people and they treat them like people, not like a number or a cow and going down the chute. And that's the difference. People, I have 5,000 Facebook friends. Do I know 5,000 people? No. But you know what? The people that I'm going to be getting into relationship with, the people that if you call me at 2:00 in the morning and say, meet me at 7-Eleven with 10,000 in cash and a shovel, I'd be like, which one? The one on 4th or on Main? I want to be in that.
I'm going to test that. I feel like I could do a lot with 10 grand and a shovel.
You're going to jail. Thank you. No, I got the evidence that I can.
Exactly. But my point is that you need to be in that in that mental mind space to be top of mind with someone. And that could be doing videos. It could be doing blogging. It could be doing audio recordings like a podcast. It could be popping by and bringing someone a box of chocolates and saying, I'm thinking about you. It could be writing a send out card. Like I wrote a send out cards to 3 people this morning with personalized photos on them so they know that I'm thinking about them. You have to rise out of the noise of life, because it's white noise everywhere you go right now. Everything's coming at you 100,000 miles an hour. How do you bob out of that? Well, you find your lane and you stick in it. You don't move around. Matt and I were talking about, Instagram. I mean, we've tried to think about it. Like, how have we found anybody that has gotten buyers or sellers from Instagram? Like the consumer's watching you and then they called you. Or was it because they had a relationship with you, then they followed you on Instagram, then they gave you a call? I mean, it's interesting how that works.
So that's a really important piece of information. So if we're looking at Instagram, then we need to be looking at that as a tool to cultivate our existing relationships, but probably will not generate new leads for me. It's more about being in contact with so I haven't heard anybody say that before. So and you've got some pretty good data on that. So interesting.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things we were thinking about, at least I was, just in reflecting over all the different people that we've heard on the podcast this year, is there's lots of options for ways to get new clients. Some of them are very simple and some of them are very complex. Like if you would like to spend 50 or 100 hours building a Facebook chatbot, you can absolutely spend every single minute of 100 hours building one. Like you can do stuff that's really complex. And one of our guests recently, I can't remember who it was, and I wish I could give credit where credit's due. I think it might have been Scott Groves, who we just recorded with. His episode will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. And he does some training in kind of the loan officer and real estate space. And he said this. He said, you might as well just master like the simple things. If you can just be famous to 50 people and get them to be an advocate for you, you can make 7 figures next year. Mm-hmm. Right. So for most of us, and I think he's right about that, for most people, they jump to the complex stuff way too soon. They haven't even mastered the simple yet. And so if everything works for somebody, why not pick something? If you're going to make it work, why not pick something that's pretty simple instead of trying to go super complex? And
so
I think
give us an example of where I might get started. Say, okay, be simple. Well, what do I need to do?
So, right. I mean, here's an idea that'd be really, really simple to be famous to 50 people. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a slice house in San Francisco called Tony's Pizza. fantastic pizza. They brought a slice house out to Walnut Creek where I live. And I walked in there the other weekend and I was waiting for my pizza to get ready. And I asked out a flyer. It says 2-for-1 beer nights on Thursdays. I love beer. Okay. Let everyone know I love them. I love me a brewski. But I'm like, a lot of other people do this. Why there's so many craft beers? How can I leverage this? So this is what I'm doing. I'm recording a video today, and I'm going to say, look, because I actually picked it up 2 days ago, so it's brand new. Hey, come on down on Thursday nights from 5 to 7. I'll buy you your first beer. Let's have a slice and a beer and catch up. And I'm going to post it. I'm going to talk to all of my network. Every time I talk to my sphere, I'm going to invite them. I'm going to send this out through my viral videos so people to come down and hang out with me on Thursday nights. But it's as simple as just going into your database, going back to the first year of your business. And if this is your first year, that's fine. Go back to the people you worked with this year. Go back to the vendors you worked with this year. And just say, hey, Matt, how are you? It's Greg. How's life? What's new? How's the house? By the way, I'm doing this every Thursday from this time to this time at this location. Come on down. I'll buy you a beer. That relationship, one, it's 2-for-1. So you're really not spending any money. Okay.
We like it cheap.
Well, us agents are lazy people.
Wise investment.
In my belly.
Yes. And you're going to buy pizza and a beer anyway. So why not leverage it and have some company there?
Yeah. And if you get one person that shows up, awesome. If 10 people show up, amazing. If nobody shows up your first time, you still had to eat, man. So just go eat. But that's it. I mean, you can go so simple. And people overthink it. So I use the KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid. All right? Don't overthink it. Just go. People talk about making videos. Oh, I need the right lights. I need the right script. I need the right this. No, man, you need an iPhone 10 and just go. I mean, Matt, what would you say would be the first thing that jumped out to you to be the simplest thing for someone to start, getting in front of their clientele? They have no money, and they're shy, kind of like your kids.
I know you're stretching for a joke there, but I have no kids. And I can't say anything about my
where did that one come from? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So if I had imaginary kids, no. I mean, look, here's the deal with referrals. One of our previous guests, Chad Durfee, pointed this out on an episode. I think it's up right now, so you can go grab it on iTunes or the website. So he said this, look, people are more likely to refer you if you're a person that raises their social status by introducing you to their people, right? So become somebody worth referring, right? I think that's where so many agents struggle to get referrals. Even when they start to ask, and there's nothing wrong with asking, and we should ask. But I think part of the reason that we hesitate to ask and other people hesitate to refer us is because we haven't become yet a person that's worthy of being referred, and somebody that when that person refers us, it makes them look good, like it raises their social status. And so I think for me, if I was dropping into a new market, if I was just parachuting out, someone threw me off of a plane and I had no idea where I was landing except that I had a parachute. And Greg, I'm assuming that'll happen to me next week, so I'm going to be watching out for that. But if somebody
throwing you out of a plane, okay.
Somebody throws me out of a plane and I land in a new city, to me that would be one of the first things I do, because for me it's a lot easier. I want to get people in person, right? I'm not a fan of picking up the phone and doing cold calls as much as probably the majority of the audience is not. There's a small segment of the population that enjoys the challenge. But I would submit that even people that enjoy the challenge eventually get burnt out on doing nothing but talking to people that they don't know. I would rather get to know people and then hang out with people that are high value that will send me referrals. So my first mission would just be to parachute into a new place and just start networking with people that have money and know high net worth homeowners. I want to get to know the probate attorneys. I want to get to know the financial advisors, the CPAs, the financial planners, the insurance guys. Like, they all want business and they all work with the same sort of people that I want to work with. And they're going to be much more open right off the bat to meeting me than a random homeowner who doesn't need to sell their home right now. So I'd rather network with those people who know a bunch of homeowners and I can be famous to them. And just by me knowing them and starting to build that network of relationships, I become a person that's worth referring. Because anytime I run into somebody new, I can say, you know what, you need to meet Steve. Steve is an awesome insurance guy, and I think you guys could potentially work together and send each other some business. Me starting to make those introductions, like that's what's worked for me in my own business. That's exactly what I would do if I was a new agent, is don't focus on yourself and trying to become famous necessarily, but get to be famous and get to be micro famous to 50 people by just being the connector that knows other influential people.
There's a book called The Go-Giver by Bob Berg, and he outlines the connector strategy that you've just described as the way to build your business. Also, I had a guest on one of my shows, and she suggested, coming off of your idea, Greg, about the beers, what she would do is she would call one person in her database that she really liked, and they'd have a meeting, at Starbucks or whatever. She'd buy them a cup of coffee, and each of them was to bring 5 people from their LinkedIn database that they can introduce the other one to. So that's
nice.
what, 5 nice leads for a cup of coffee, and I didn't have to go knock on a single door, so it's getting face to face.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea.
It is. My father, the Grand Master that I've always joked about, and he's like, Greg, the best business advice I could ever give you is to get 4 other people together for lunch. And when you're calling through your database, you're calling through your sphere, say, hey, Bernice, what are you doing? I'm getting together with a couple other folks at this time for lunch. Could you come on down? I think you might want to meet Matt. He could be a great resource for you. Be a connector at that point. But I think what you really need to understand is you need to understand what your brand is. There's a phenomenal book, Donald Miller wrote it called Building a Story Brand. It is absolutely 100%, without a doubt, the best investment you will ever make when it comes to understanding and identifying exactly who and what you offer. So many of us all the time in our brands, and corporations, mom and pops, and us real estate agents do this all the time. We overcomplicate what our story is to our consumers, and the way our brain is built is that if it isn't crystal clear, that's why I say clarity is everything, right? And they're not just saying it because it's a cool tagline. They're saying it because your physiology of your brain will shut down and stop listening when there's too much information that doesn't pertain to the subject matter at hand. If you confuse the brain, it will shut off and shut you out. And we all do it. We all put so much stuff out there that we don't need to talk about. You should have a card that says, with no brand on it, say, I buy and sell real estate. Boom. Or I change people's lives, or I help you get the dream home. Something like that. It's clear. It's concise. Go get this book. It's called, crap. I forgot that Donald Miller wrote it.
Story Brand.
Building a Story Brand. He has these downloads you can go do. It can help you clarify what your brand story is to your consumers. I'm doing it right now. It is, oh my gosh, it is so much fun. And it is so enlightening to see how much junk I've been throwing at people. And Matt has been browbeating me for 4 years for this. And I'm going to give the book credit and not Matt. No, I'm kidding.
Never mind that I'm the one that told you to go get the book.
We've been down this path before today.
You did. Yeah. But so here's another simple topic. Let's say you guys don't know any good CPAs in the area. Something that one of our good friends of the show, Nick Sakis and Gene Volpe, 2 great marketers, I got them on a phone together, and we came up with an idea to do very small videos. I'm going to go and start reviewing taco stands or Mexican restaurants because they're all over the place. Go say, give me one of your best, take it outside, eat it, give it a review, and then post it. Then you can go highlight small businesses and do an interview with them in their business. Guys, where you get the small businesses to interview them, go to Groupon. Groupon is just a beautiful place because they're already offering a discount. They will 100% of the time guaranteed that they will let you in and do an interview with them because it costs them nothing. And then you can ask for the referral when you push that video out to your social networks. I mean, I'm also, so as of Matt, I don't think you even know this, dude. I actually signed up to do a Spartan race. Actually 2 this year, one in San Jose and one in Hawaii. And so I'm going to go through a metamorphosis of my physical body, where I am to race ready physique. And so I'm going to take the viewers on this journey. People love to go on a journey. They want to be on your team. They want to support. They want to see a transition, right? Give them what they want. Give them small things you're already doing in your daily life and be transparent. That's what people, they want to see transparency. They want to see honesty, and they want to see real. They don't want to see manufactured BS. Tired of that stuff. I mean, Bernice, you're in tuned and touch with the real estate community. I mean, are you seeing that same trend nationally that I'm seeing locally?
Well, authenticity certainly, and people build relationships. And, I think you led off with talking about being more relational, not more transactional. And when we were prepping for this, I don't remember which one of you said that what's happened is we've made the shift, the door knocking and the cold calling has now become transactional rather than building relationships. So it's something that people are pushing away more. So I would, 100% agree. We're better at screening calls. Outbound marketing is not working. We've got to build relationships. It's inbound. It's relationships. It's introducing, being the connector strategy that we've talked about today.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all great, things that anybody who's listening to this should be looking at doing in 2019.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I think one of the big shifts for me that I've noticed, and I hope it keeps going this way, which is when social media first kind of came along, we looked at it as a way to just kind of blast a message to the masses of people that we don't know and get them to raise their hand and call us and say, I want to list or buy a home. Like that was the theory. I don't think that's how it materialized, right? Because now there's so much choice. There's so much on social media that now we're starting to use social media again as a screen. Just like we use caller ID and things like that on our phone so that we don't have to talk to people on the phone that we don't want to talk to. Now we're starting to see that same thing on Facebook and Instagram where we start to use it as a shield to block out people we don't want to interact with on social media. So social media is not just a place to throw up a video and get people who don't know you, don't like you, don't trust you to somehow magically pick up the phone and call and do business with you. Like that's not going to work. What does work though is giving the people that already know, like, and trust us some way to share us, some way to build and strengthen the relationship. So I think you mentioned briefly just the Instagram thing where the focus needs to shift from just reaching new people to just making sure that everybody that's in our world, let's make sure that they're following us on Instagram. Let's make sure that we're actually Facebook friends and that they're actually seeing our stuff. And let's make sure that we're sending like some written note cards and things like that to strengthen that relationship. So there's all kinds of fun ways to use all these new tools, but it's a mindset shift. It's not about reaching a bunch of people that don't know who we are. It's about building deeper, stronger relationships with a little bit bigger group of people that do know, like, and trust us, where 30 years ago, it would have been hard to have relationships with 500 people. We could have relationships with maybe 100 to 150. Well, social media has made it easy for us to maintain relationships with a bigger group of people. But that doesn't mean we need to reach the masses. We still only need to be famous to a small number of people. Social media just makes that, to me, it makes it easier. And so I've shifted that. So the way that I'm using social media has completely shifted over the last couple of years too, to just focusing on better, deeper, stronger relationships with people that know me, and then slowly expanding that circle of people that know me.
Sometimes, I mean, we also need to keep in mind that, I've always found that we always used to be wanted to be on the biggest billboard or on all the park benches or whatever it used to be, right? Well, I would flip that on its head and go reverse. Get on the smallest billboard you possibly can. People are probably scratching their heads going, what in the heck is he talking about? It's Facebook messages. It's text messages. It's something that the brain in the body can't help but look at and open, right, and read. We had a guest on our show that said, you know what, for all the people that you may be, air quote, friends with on Facebook, send 10 messages a day to people, agents or non-agents, just saying, hey, how are you? What's going on? Been a long time. I know, like, it's crazy. Just keep me in mind if you're thinking about buying or selling any real estate. And I asked him, like, well, what if there are other real estate agents? He's like, Greg, even if they're a county away or something like that, they might send you a referral, but you can get into a deeper personal relationship with all of these people by reintroducing yourself, because life does get busy. We do forget, who does buying and selling real estate. Matt and I have told the story many a times about a lender. This guy ran it. Well, Matt, you tell the story. The guy who private jets and his aunt got a loan and she completely forgot about him.
Yeah, he runs into his aunt. He's running a loan company or a mortgage company that does $1 billion in loans out of Florida. And he runs into his aunt at a family get-together. And she's like, oh, I just got my home loan through Wells Fargo. You do something with loans, right? Would you mind taking a look at my loan and just check it out and see what you think? And he's like, yes. And the point is that it drives us nuts, and it's a funny story because it's an extreme example, but this happens to all of us all the time because we do a really terrible job of keeping in touch with people that are close to us because we assume that they know and that they care what we do and who we serve. And I guarantee most of the time the people that are closest to us don't know what we do or who we do it for. and could not clearly articulate that. So I guess my point is just in like mastering the simple, like before we get into Instagram and chatbots and online leads and Zillow and all this stuff, all the shiny object stuff that goes around cyclically in this world of real estate that we all run in. Let's make sure that we are referral people, like the people can refer us and know how to send us an intelligent referral that we actually want to work with. If we haven't done that, like we don't need to be focusing on all those other things. That might come in time, but let's get the foundation first of making sure that we actually have good, strong relationships and we're getting good referrals and we are a person who's worthy of being referred. And then maybe we'll have to worry about chatbots.
Exactly. And then to show you guys that it's not just theoretical, that I actually do this in my real estate business, I'm making it a priority on a daily basis to go into my database, reach out to 10 people. So I'm not doing 100, it's just 10 people a day, and either delete them or reorganize them or have a conversation with them. So I'm either cleaning up the database or I'm having a conversation. And now I did a call yesterday. I went through 9 calls. Nothing. They delete eight old leads. They were dead. They weren't doing anything, yada, yada. My 10th call was a guy named Tim. Past client of mine. I was this close. I was a millimeter from not calling this guy. But I'm like, because I got nervous. I'm like, is he going to like me? Does he remember me? Get the whole thing. I called him. Tim, it's Greg. How are you? How's life? Went through all the conversations, asked about the kids. Then he asked, hey, how's the house treating you? It's getting too big, Greg. We're going to sell it in June. and I told him, hey, I'm going to come on by. I'm going to bring some C's candy over for you. He said, yeah, man, you can look at my foundation. I put all these piers in and I redid the backyard. And I'm like, I don't care, but okay. So I'm going to go
you
over.
do care if you get the listing. So.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. And a referral, because he's about $1.5 million, $1.6 million on the sell, and he's going to refer up to a Folsom area where I already put him in contact with an agent up there, so I get a referral fee out of it. And it's because I went through my database. It's that simple.
And I tell you, if you don't stay in contact with the people in your database, you lose 20% of them every year. So in 5 years, you're not staying in contact with them, they're gone.
Oh, they're gone.
Yeah. So to wrap up today, this has been fun and it's been, as always, great, takeaways for everybody who's listening. What's one final takeaway or your best recommendation, let's say, for going into 2019? That's
a loaded question and I like it.
Oh, good.
Best takeaway, I would say, continue to listen to your podcast. That's what I would say. I would, in seriousness, seriously, keep listening to Bernice's podcast. No joke. I do. I would say if you're not doing video, start doing video in some way, shape, or form. Because the millennials and those Gen Zers that are just getting in the business, those little whippersnappers, those little guys who haven't done too much, they are going to kick your ass up one side of the street and right back down the other, because you know what? They're going to do video and they're going to be in front of more people, more relational, and more relevant than you are doing the old tasks and tactics that we've done for decades. Step out of your comfort zone, figure out what your new story brand's going to be, go get that book, and then reinvent yourself. Come back out and be the new version of you in 2019. And you don't need to do as much video as Matt and I do or Bernice does. Do a video a week, guys. Okay, put $20 behind it, and just see where it goes. Do a live video with a local business. Become visible, become relevant. That would be my, go get them tactic for 19.
Matt, how about you?
Oh, I have nothing to follow up on that. Greg and I have talked way too much, and I can't outdo that. So that is also my recommendation.
Okay. I'm done.
I'm glad this is recorded because I don't think those words have ever come out of Matt's mouth before.
You have all kinds of ammunition for different things from this interview today. But anyway, I want to thank Matt Johnson and Greg McDaniel for being with us today. And you can listen to them on iTunes or on YouTube, ariuncensored.com. Fantastic podcast that they're doing. And always a lot of fun that also they're bringing in some of the top thinkers and, the people are doing some of the smartest and the most innovative things in the industry and putting them in front of you every week. So got to tune into their podcast. So my takeaway. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Bernice. You too.
Well, one of my objectives for this year as a business was to travel for 50% of the year and to increase my profits by 50%. The first thing I do when I get anywhere, doesn't matter if I'm there for one night, I will unpack. I'll get everything out of my bag, pop in the drawers and make me feel like that's my room and feels like home that way. The best thing about being a digital nomad is being able to prioritise life over work and really living it to its absolute max. My average work would be around 4 to 5 hours a day. Has definitely made me more efficient, can fit into a day what I would fit into a week in an office. There's no interruptions of people coming to your desk, phone calls. So my top tips for travel would definitely be to travel light and don't take a carry-on suitcase, take a really lightweight bag. Secondly would be to try and stay in routine, whether that's having the same breakfast, working in exercise. It'll keep you from getting exhausted. The best way to keep in touch with my friends and family when I'm away is definitely through social media. I think the way the world's moving in terms of business, everyone's really mobile, and I think work-life balance is something that people really value. My main learnings is that I should have done it earlier. I thought it was going to be really hard to do. I think with technology that's around and the openness of people to do business and communicate in those ways, it's actually not that hard. You've just got to give it a go and stop talking about doing it and just do it.